listening to the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network, part of Sports Illustrated, giving you daily NFL Draft, Dynasty, and Devy Fantasy Football podcasts.
Class is in session. Welcome into the draft seminar presented by Sports Illustrated's NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network. I'm your host, Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, joined as always by my co-host, John Lobb, the Gridiron Scholar. And we're talking Travis Etienne on this video, electric playmaker. We've been waiting a while for Travis Etienne to come out, John, so I am so glad we can finally break down his film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching more film of Travis Etienne this week. It's been a pleasure. And, you know, we've been so lucky. The last 2 years, we had Jonathan Taylor last year who put together one of the great careers in college, and now Travis Etienne. In college football history, he's had one of the most prolific careers in the history of this game. And I've been watching him for 4 years run the football for the Clemson Tigers. In high school, you go all the way back. He was ESPN top 125 prospect, number 13 running back in the nation, and number 4 player in the state of Louisiana. And he ends up at Clemson, and he jumps onto a good team right away with opportunity. But his sophomore season, Matt, his career just took off in 2018. He was the ACC Offensive Player of the Year, second team All-America, and the 2018 ACC Championship Game MVP. Etienne was phenomenal that year. Came back in 2019, second team All-America, and first team All-ACC. Matt, he had put together back-to-back 1,600-yard rushing seasons. Many people, including myself, thought he was going to declare for the draft. I'm still kind of shocked that he decided to go back to Clemson, but the young man did, and he had a very good 2020. He did not live up to expectations. But Matt, it is almost impossible to have a third straight 1,600-yard season when it's COVID in 2020. It just was not likely to happen. Hey, he still ended up as first-team All-American all-purpose, second-team All-American running back, and first-team All-ACC. A very good year. He had set the bar so high, Matt, it was not going to be matched. He's a 3-time first-team All-America honoree, 2-time ACC Player of the Year, and as I mentioned, he logged back-to-back 1,600-yard campaigns. He's the FBS record holder for most career games with a touchdown. I was shocked by this. 46 games he scored a touchdown. And I knew I had him on college fantasy football teams. But when you see that number, you're like, wow, he was consistent for the Tigers. He's the ACC record holder for rushing yards, total touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, and points scored. And he's one of only 12 players in FBS history with over 4,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. Travis Etienne is the full package with an incredible resume entering the NFL. Matt, what do you like him when you watch the film?
Well, John, first and foremost, my fantasy football projection for him is a league winner. That is a high bracket projection for me. He can be a difference maker, and it starts, John, with his acceleration. I think we're forgetting a little bit just how dang fast this man is. He's a home run threat every time he touches that ball. He's an absolute burner on a straight line, John. That shows up in his 2018 tape, that shows up in his 2019 tape, and that shows up in the 2020 tape. He has a verified high school 40 of 4.43, and I would not be surprised if he tests better than that. You know, especially with the pro day home field advantage that everybody has this year. I love his speed. I love his acceleration. If he hits the second level of the field, he's scoring you a touchdown in fantasy football. And that is difference making. That's league winning. He's got a 95 out of 100 for me. He's explosive, John. He shoots right off that line of scrimmage, but it's not just off the line of scrimmage. He can take his time sometimes, but when he finds that hole, he's going to hit that hole and he's going to be gone. I love his explosiveness, 89 out of 100 for me. The athleticism, John, is something I think we forget about sometimes. He's a very fluid runner. Despite being a straight line burner, he can move east to west. He displays some nasty spin moves at times and even pops in some hurdles. Go back, watch the Miami tape. 2020, he has a really nice hurdle as well. 86, and here was one of the biggest knocks on him. In the past, he wasn't asked to pass catch. This season, he was, and he displayed what a lot of us already knew. He's a good pass catcher. Consistent hands. He can catch through traffic. He's a reliable check down option, and that can be difference-making when it comes to fantasy football. It's not on the list as well, John, but I want to point out he has good strength and contact balance as well. I also have an 84 for him. I could have kept going down the list of positive traits, but instead of doing that, John, how about we just flip on his tape?
Oh, man, let's do it.
All right, here we go. As always, provided by Brandon Lejeune, Devy Deep Dive. And let's talk about that spin move. There it is. I love it. Hit the B button, and he is gone. Next up here against Virginia, we're going to see a little bit of patience, right? And look at that contact balance, John. Look at him stay on his feet. He scraps forward, and he makes a touchdown out of a play that should have been stopped behind the line of scrimmage.
And look at the patience by Lawrence. Gave him the ball. Now look at the physicality at the end by Travis Etienne there.
He's kind of known for being a burner, but John, you could see the physical play style. See the way he shoots off the line of scrimmage? Great explosiveness there. And against the Citadel, he beats this DB to the edge. That's impressive.
Absolutely. He really can run in between the tackles and on the edge. And then he just explodes at the second level. Ooh,
and you can see here against the Miami film, this defensive back takes a perfect angle to cut him off. And Etienne is so fast, and he's able to turn upfield on a dime that defender didn't have a chance despite having perfect technique.
And remember, Notre Dame was a very good defense this year, and he just ate them up in that game.
He's cutting them up, John. A gap, B gap, C gap, it doesn't matter. You can't quantify this. He just finds a way to win.
Absolutely. He does need help around him, but he does find a way to win. And he's so explosive, Matt. I mean, put him in space and one-on-one. And boy, look at that. Look at that.
We're starting to see this pass catching come through against Boston College, against Virginia. A little bit of yak ability, John. Like he has those fluid hips. It's just a little bit of movement skill, but it's enough to scrap out those extra yards.
Now that's a nice wheel route.
All the way downfield. He reacts to that ball. It was not a perfectly thrown ball, but he tracks it very well, John. There is a whole lot to like about Travis Etienne's film, but how about his production metrics?
His production metrics, if we had the combine, I would be fascinated to compare apples to apples with Jonathan Taylor. How does he grade out in some of those key metrics? We're going to get a little home cooking on that at that Clemson Pro Day. We know that. But it's going to be close. My only knock, he's not as big as Jonathan Taylor and some of the other backs. He's 5'10", 205. And Matt, I put him in a bucket with Reggie Bush and Tiki Barber. I really think he has a lot of those traits, high-end traits. Not only am I concerned about his size, though, I am a little bit concerned about his vision. We saw excellent clips. When he has a lane and it is blocked for him, he's unbelievable. At times, I question his vision and he doesn't make the best decisions. But I'll say this. At the end of the day, look at his yards per carry. 7.2. So what does that tell me? Yes, he might be making some mistakes with the vision, but his explosive traits and high-end athleticism make up for it. So he might have one or two one-yard runs, but then he's going to get a 25-yard run. His pass catching, I like a ton. Now, we had done Najee Smith last week. I still believe Najee Smith's a better pass catcher than Travis Etienne. And here's how I look at it. For us old school people, it's the difference between Thurman Thomas and Marshall Faulk. Marshall Faulk was special deep down the field in that offense, the greatest show on turf. Thurman Thomas in the K-gun in Buffalo was Travis Etienne. Checkdowns, screens, behind the yards of scrimmage, yak yardage, explosiveness, and second-level vision. Thurman Thomas is Travis Etienne. Najee Harris is Marshall Faulk. That's the difference. I'm not trying to knock Travis Etienne. He's going to catch 60 to 70 passes a year in the offense. Najee Harris is special. He's a different a different runner with different receiving skills. But Travis Etienne, he shouldn't drop past your top 5 in your dynasty drafts. Oh, would he have been so good in New Orleans with Sean Payton and Drew Brees 2 years ago? But they have Alvin Kamara for that role. But he's going to be, that's his ceiling, Alvin Kamara. And I think he's Reggie Bush floor. Reggie Bush had a very nice career, people. He didn't live up to the expectations of coming out of USC and the since taken away Heisman Trophy. But Reggie Bush was a very good NFL player. So I think that's Travis Etienne's floor, but he could be Alvin Kamara with a little sprinkle of Tiki Barber thrown in there.
Hey, that's a heck of a good place to be and a heck of a consolation prize, I think, in any fantasy football draft if you're looking for a running back. We appreciate you listening into this episode of the Draft Seminar. You can put those pencils down. This lesson is over. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review or give the video a thumbs up. And as always, we appreciate